o'clock somewhere. So, guys, I just thought it would be an idea to get the 4 hosts for this season up, and just so you can get to know them a wee bit better before we sit round the tables and we do our virtual meetups and everything with them. I am incredibly honoured that these guys decided to come on board the table with me from random emails and LinkedIn DMs, just saying, I have this idea, would you come and do this? And for putting their faith in me, which is just unbelievable. So I thought what we'll do is we'll just take a couple of questions so you can get to know them on a sort of a career and a professional level, and then I have a stupid couple of questions at the end, just so you can get to know them as people. So first of all, I thought if we just go round the room and if we just introduce ourselves. So Nikki, this is Nikki Gibney. Go ahead, Nikki.
Yeah, hi guys, my name is Nikki, and
yeah, who you are, what you do, yeah.
Perfect. With the whole CV. So my name is Nikki. I know you said to talk about our career. I spent most of my career, about 20 years, working with Deloitte in the UK and Ireland, initially as a comms consultant and then internally in sales. And then I've had about 5 years as the Chief Sales and Marketing Officer for Deloitte Ireland. I finished up there last October, and since November I have been working with a really different company. So I've gone from big global presence, huge number of people, I had 60 people on my team in Deloitte, to a team of 1. I'm working for a financial services business that's kind of just emerging from startup mode, and I'm back to basics. Again, we're doing a full brand work, which is really interesting, and I'm down in the weeds, which is really interesting. So I could talk about LinkedIn strategy, but I did have to Google how to do a LinkedIn post, which I was trying to hide from people that I was working with in terms of how to do it. But yeah, I've kind of veered throughout my career in between comms, sales, marketing, and I'm really excited to talk to you guys, but also to learn, because this, like I said when I was talking to you, this is the kind of community that I have been looking for. I've come all the way up from Dublin because I couldn't find it there. And
I'll bring it there too.
Yes, we're going to bring it back down and get people talking. So really looking forward to really, talking to you guys and everyone else here and learning from you guys as well.
Thank you, Nikki. Jen, the lady whose hair I never know what's colour is going to be when you turn up.
An apology, someone asked me this morning, was I going to do Mass in the Vatican? What a way to start. So I'm Jen, I'm the marketing director for a company called Cameron Group, and our job, I love being able to say this, is to make sure that your electricity keeps flowing, your car keeps flowing, and all those trains that you take to work every day keep moving on the tracks. I have been in marketing for over 15 years now. I know, it's hard to believe. And I've primarily worked B2B, technology, innovation, which again, when you look at me with my purple hair and eclectic dress sense, it's quite hard to believe, but I love it. I love the technology sector, I love the B2B world, and I'm really excited about this. I'm a straight marketer. I pride myself in being a marketing generalist. And I am all for the marketing generalist, because I felt for a long time we're a lost art and not enough people are championing actually the people who know a bit of everything. So I'm really excited to be here. Love being in a room with fellow marketers, and I'm a huge ego this morning, so thanks.
I'm Liz Toner. I'm a global head of marketing for First Derivative. So those who don't know, it's a financial technology company. Started out my career in agency, actually doing more fashion PR and lifestyle and food and nice cool stuff, which I loved, absolutely loved, starting off my career. So took a complete different direction, moved into the corporate world. So yeah, financial services is kind of my main focus. The company I worked for, I've been with them 15 years, and we started small, a local company. It's actually founded in Newry. But we're global now, so we've gone through a lot of change, and we've just recently been acquired by 75,000 global organisations, so I'm into a whole other sphere of global work now, so it's been so interesting. But you say the generalist element, I've always been the generous element, so my career's changed. I'm doing more strategic stuff now with different teams, and it's a roller coaster, but yeah, really enjoying today and meeting everyone and hearing everyone's background, so thank you, Trina.
Not at all, thank you, Liz. John.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Jonathan Gallagher. I'm Marketing Director of Loch Erin Resort, and thank you, Trina, for inviting me today. It's a real honour to be here with you all and to learn and connect. So I've been in marketing nearly 20 years. and I specialise on work in hospitality. So I'm fortunate to be head of marketing for Loch Earn Resort in Fermanagh. Hopefully we'll have 30 to 40 new bookings coming our way after this. Before Loch Earn Resort, I've been Loch Earn Resort nearly 9 years. I ran my own brand business, hennerstag.com. So I ran it for 5 years, and we were fortunate to sell it on. And before that, I worked for 8 years with the Killyhaviland Hotel. So my whole career has been around, I suppose, people and place and hospitality, and I'm really keen here to connect. I find, particularly living in Fermanagh, we're over 2 hours away, we're kind of in this little bubble away from the cities, so it's good to expand your bandwidth and your learning, and every day is a school day, so I'm here today to learn from you as well.
Brilliant, and thank you just on that point that you've come from Fermanagh. There are people in this room from Wicklow, from Portlaoise, and they probably got here before me. So thank you so much for making the effort to come up. I really, really, really appreciate it. So listen guys, 4 questions, just so we can dig a wee bit deeper into your career and your professional life, and then 2 stupid questions at the end. None of which will be about the traders. You can tell I'm counting down the hours. So guys, we'll start with you, Nikki.
Okay.
What version of you first worked into marketing?
I think I kind of walked into marketing and then away and then back in again. But the very first version was I was in college and I was doing a business degree in Trinity, and I took 2 classes that I loved. One was marketing and the other one was around organisation change and psychology. And in my last year I was like really torn, because I was like, these are the 2 classes that I love, and I'm like, which am I going to do, which path will I choose? And I ended up choosing the organisation change communications path, which brought me to Deloitte. But what I wish I knew was that actually I didn't need to make a choice. I was going to end up doing both of them. But also, they're so connected. Like, there was a reason I loved both of them, because organisation change, communications, marketing, like, it's all about people. It's being interested in people. Like, what do people want? How do they think? How do they make decisions? And how can you communicate and connect with them in a way that's going to get them making the decision that you want them to do, or behaving in the way in work that you want them to behave. So I wish I had realised that I didn't need to kind of spend so many hours in my room going, what am I going to do? Because actually, the path that I chose was going to take me back to marketing again.
So that's funny, because whenever I did my A-levels and I was going to do psychology at Queen's, and that was all there was to it, there was no discussion to be had. I was going to Queen's, I was doing psychology, and I got accepted to do psychology. And then a couple of months in, I went, I don't like this. This is all about numbers and statistics, and this is not for me. I thought I was going to be a behavioural psychologist and stuff. So I left and thought, I'll do marketing instead. And it's so funny because the 2 are so interlinked, aren't they?
Yeah.
And more about that later, because I have a conference I'm launching later on this year in that sort of theme. So more about that later. Jen, who were you when you walked into marketing?
Orange hair, less wrinkles, calmer. But I was very excited. I mean, I thought naive, I'm going to say, because when I got into marketing, I just thought people got it. I was waiting. I loved when people said, what are you doing? Oh, I'm in marketing. And I was kind of waiting for that, wow, she's in marketing. No. I was really naive, because you're not taught in university, or maybe you're in CAM, your ego's inflated. When you do the CAM degree, you're the best. You're the most amazing marketer, and you're going to walk into your dream job and everybody's going to love you, and you want to take the world by storm, and then you get into your first job and that's not it, because people don't understand the profession, and you have to spend your career getting people to understand marketing as a profession, not just that you're amazing. So I would say excited but very naive, and I wish in university they would teach you that. I wish they would give that dose of realism, that when you walk into the real world, it's not, she's in marketing, promote her now.
Yeah, so the usual thing that I got when you work in marketing is like, so you make brochures?
Yeah.
No, but we'll not go there. Liz, who were you when you first walked into marketing?
I can relate to all of this. Definitely naive is the word that pops out for me. I think though, we were talking about this earlier, there's been a generational shift. When I started my first job, and I was the same, I studied CAM as well, so I get that. But when we started, I don't know, you just did whatever you were asked.
Yes.
Like that I think that day is gone. You know,
Yeah.
if I was told to go and get 10 coffees, I was straight out the door to get it. And I think I don't know if that day is gone, but you started and got stuck into whatever, pull the sleeves up. And I really do think that's a really good starting point for your marketing career, because marketing is a bit of everything, and it's people orientated. You're talking to all parts of the business, so if you can't do that, you're going to struggle to progress, in my opinion. So naive and a bit clueless, truthfully, but hungry to learn, I would say.
Yeah, which is probably the most important of it all.
Yeah.
John.
Yeah, so I walked in, my whole background through education was all driven around art, so that was my passion. And I leaned into marketing, and back then, marketing, nobody really knew what it was, including the career teachers. So I fell into marketing, but it was the best decision I ever made. I suppose to give you a bit of context of who I am, so when I went to primary school, as an example, I started out until about P4, P5, learning words through pictures. I wasn't the fastest learner. Everyone learns in different ways. I never got then obviously to grammar school. I went straight into secondary school. When I got to secondary school, I'd been fortunate enough through art to gain enough points then to get into my grammar school, and art was my vision, but you can't really make a career out of art on its own. So I was like, how can I turn this into a career? And then I was fortunate to get into the CAM course as well. I'd worked my way up then to get into the CAM course, and by the time I'd left university, all through hard work, and hard work's so important in marketing, and every day is a different day and every day is a learning day. But I'd left P4, P5 learning from pictures to leaving a Master's Student of the Year with a first, dissertation of the year, and that's been the backbone of me, is hard work brings success. It's like you reached out on LinkedIn, when you share with each other and you learn from each other, you can grow. And I suppose really in the last year or two I've turned that tap on, and I think it's really important to open your network and open your mind to learning. So
100%,
that's sort of my
100%,
journey
yeah.
into it.
It's funny, my son is 12 and he wants to be a professional footballer. Of course he does. And do you know what? And I thought, I'm not going to squash your dreams, sweetheart. So you just be the footballer you want to be. But I keep saying to him, but you need to study business. Because you're going to retire really, really early, and then you're going to have to do something like coach the team or manage the team. He's like, okay, mama. So it's like not about squashing your dreams, but just adding a wee bit of reality
And
into
I
it.
say, you know, you go in with that creative vision,
Yeah.
but then you realise, shit, I have to make these guys money.
Yeah.
So then you realise it's all about business. So it's like all these analytical tools that you have to learn, and every day is a new day. And
Yeah.
we were talking about this, like, this is a discipline that is changing at a rapid pace.
Oh yeah.
And there's few others, like if you're a solicitor, you learn the law, yes, there's changes, but this thing is an animal, and as we said, nobody's an expert, we're all learning.
Yeah, and whenever I went to university, that's how old I am, there was no mobiles because I had to phone my mum and dad from a payphone. So you just got to learn this stuff as you go along. Right, question 2. Nikki, going to throw this at you again. What did an experience teach you that advice never did?
So the hard one when I was in more junior was that I am the person who owns my career, and I shouldn't hand the power of that over to somebody else. And that is not to undermine. I have had amazing mentors. I have had people who have hugely championed me throughout my career. But I had one year where I worked really hard, and I did really good work that year. I know myself, you know, and I look back at what I was doing, and I was like, you know what, I did do really good work that year, and I'm still kind of bitter about the fact that I didn't get the recognition at the end of the year. But I kind of thought at the time, if I just work really hard and do a really good job of delivery, people will notice. People will see it, and they'll know what I'm doing, and I will get the recognition, and I don't need to go and shout for the rooftops about it. And I was working in London at the time, which is kind of even the culture over there. Like I remember being told, you know, the Irish go over and we're a bit like, sure, there wasn't much that I did, you know. Whereas over there, they're like, yeah, here's all the list of things that that I've done, and it was a really hard lesson because at the end of the year, I didn't get the recognition, the rating, which was we were very focused on rating there, and I guess since then I've learned that, you know, to talk about the things that I'm doing, to ask for promotions, to ask for opportunities. You know, if you're not clear on what it is that you want, it's very difficult for, even when people want to help you, it's difficult for them to actually see the opportunities for you or notice those ones. So it is, you know, I think it's not even about managers not being good managers. It's just about people. I see myself now that I'm a leader, and when I've had a lot of people reporting into me, actually it's much easier to help the people that are really clear on what it is that they want and the opportunities that they want. There is a balance, like people that would come to me in every single meeting where it was like, am I getting promoted? It was like, oh, okay. But you have to be having some. If you're not having the conversation at all, you need to be having that conversation and putting it out there. And it's amazing the opportunities that can come along then when people know what it is that you're actually looking to do.
I think that's right, and I think that one of the key things that happened with COVID for me was I was working full time for an accountancy firm at the time, and I was furloughed. Like as soon as COVID happened, they said, bye-bye Trina, we're not doing any marketing, we're not doing any events, so bye-bye, go home and homeschool your child, which was horrendous. And within 6 weeks, my senior partner rang me one day, and he said, I'm really, really sorry. And I said, well, what's wrong? And he said, I need you to come back. And I said, right, why? And he said, because I didn't realise how much you did until you were not here and not doing it. And he said, I'm so sorry. And he says, when can you come back? And I said, tomorrow. And he was like, brilliant. And you know, that man apologised to me nearly every day for a year. And I was like, I'm going to get that printed on a t-shirt for you. You know? But it actually at that point made me realise, Jesus, maybe I am good at this. Because for years I was finding I was hiding behind their brand. So I was the person that was doing all the work, but it was like, no, HM accountants are doing this and they have this event and and it was like, no, I just want to be the ghost. And then I think that was the catalyst for me to say, well, actually 6 weeks out, in a really quiet period of business life, he noticed I wasn't there. Maybe I am doing something right. But at the same time, it shouldn't take a global pandemic to make you realise that. But in my case it did. Jen, what did an experience teach you that advice never did?
Well, I've had quite a few, I'll call them duck-ups. Along the way, probably one that I don't think advice can help you on, you have to experience it. And I'm hoping everybody's been in this scenario. When you go in and you have your idea set, you know what you want to do, and you've the room won over, and then you start to lose it. That is something that nobody can advise you on what to do in that scenario. You almost have to mess it up the first time. And I remember, because I got defensive and whenever you question me, I'm going to win this. You'll be sorry, I'm leaving. I'm just going to resign. And you lose the room. Like you will, the minute you get defensive in a room with your peers, you are going to lose it. So that was an experience for me, and I remember after rethinking my approach, one, I was never going to lose the room again. Why was I never going to lose the room again? And this goes back to when I was pitching the rebrand at Camlin to bring them into some sort of sanctuary. I knew who my detractors and who were the most likely people, who when the CEO loves something because he loves shiny things, I knew who were the people who don't love shiny things and don't love change. And I would go to them purposely before, and I would show them, and I would make them feel like they had a part to play in it. That please don't put this bit on the internet, because they all still believe our CTO is convinced that he came up with a concept for the rebrand. So I would have them all aligned with me, and then I would go into the room and then I would pitch it and pretend to Peter that nobody has seen this before, and then I would have all of these nodding heads going, and Peter would go, what do you think? Yes. What do you Great, Peter. And but then you also have to learn a skill to be able to think on your feet, because you may still lose the room. So something that experience has helped me is that ability. I can tell now when I'm going to lose the room, and I can spot in the room. I can spot, I'm always going to lose the room with the people team. So I always apply how this is going to make sense for the people team. I know I'm going to lose, no, I am. So I think that's something for me that you have to experience. You have to experience that point when you leave the room and you didn't get what you wanted and everybody hated it, and you have to go back to the drawing board. You have to experience that. I couldn't give people advice on that. Just
Like-
don't be argumentative.
Yeah.
It's,
5 minutes in the toilet, hyperventilate, and then get back to your desk.
yeah, you rewrite your CV and you're leaving and you're said you're done, you're changing career.
Changing jobs.
Yeah. I shouldn't be on this. But that definitely is one for experience.
Yeah, no, I'm loving the honesty. That's what it's all about. It's just, you know, we're not perfect. We pretend to be, but we're not, and let's just be honest about it, and let's just talk about what we face every single day. Because people think, like, if you ask my mum, if you say, what does our Trina do for a living? She'd say, I don't know, she swans about Belfast and coffee
Yeah.
shops having lunch. And that will literally, I've heard her tell people that. And I'm like, well, I do. I am very lucky, I do get to do that, but it's bloody hard work. You know, and we all know marketing is really hard, and you might be having lunch in the Ivy, or you might be having a cup of coffee in Costa, but you're working.
Yep.
You know, and I think people really don't understand that. I think marketing is the glamorous side of things, and I'm thinking, glamorous? Are you kidding me? I have been on my hands and knees with gaffer tape at 12 o'clock at night, getting ready for an event the next day, and like, there's no glamour in that. So it's just break honesty, Jane, keep it coming. Keep it coming. Liz.
This slightly different angle, I suppose, but I think looking back, an experience that happened for me in work, like on my earlier career, I probably took things home with me a lot. You know, if I had a really stressy day or something didn't go my way, I would come home and it could keep you up at night. Some things, you know. But in where I work, many years ago, our CEO died, and I remember coming into work a day or two later, and we didn't even close for one day. And that was a real eye-opener for me, because, you know, if the wheels keep turning whenever the person who founded the business and was running it, and, you know, the machine behind everything, if that didn't even turn the lights off for one day, what's it all about? Like, to me, that's quite deep, actually, sorry. But it made me realise, you know, it's the experience that, you know, don't take it too seriously. You know, do your best at work. Don't take it home. You know, there's a lot more to life than your day-to-day work.
It's just marketing.
It's
Yeah.
just
Yeah,
marketing.
yeah,
That sounds.
yeah.
I'm not
Yeah.
belittling what we do, but it's, you know,
I
we're
agree
not.
with
them. Yeah.
Lives aren't in danger every day.
Yeah.
All you can do is your best, and you know, just don't take yourself too seriously, because you don't get anything out of that. So that was one experience that really opened my eyes and work, and I applied myself differently to work ever since that. To be honest.
A very unique experience. You know,
Yeah.
all of us have been through that.
Yeah.
Gosh. Johnny.
So great examples. So I suppose going back to my early career at the start, I remember my first week in the role in a hotel environment. They sent me around the different departments, so 1 week in food and beverage, 1 week in bedrooms and the spa, etc. But I remember the general manager come up to me, and he didn't shout at me, but he raised his voice and he was like, "Get your hands out of your pockets." And the lesson there was, it's so important how you show up, and you know, as a leader, as a professional. You know, me with my hands in my pockets, it was a bit disrespectful. It showed me as closed. It didn't show me as confident. And these are skills that we all need to improve upon and learn as we move forward in our career. And I remember that same week then, I actually had to go back to him. I'd spent all week, you were talking about brochures, designing this amazing, the best leaflet ever landed in the building. I'd spent all week, the best copy, images, everything. So I went to the printers, and it was Friday evening. I was about to go home, first paycheck, amazing. And I remember sitting in the car and picking up the leaflet, and I was like, this is amazing. And I looked at the terms and conditions, and they were printed wrong. I'd spelled a mistake, there was something wrong in it. And I remember having to go back to the same GM who had basically said, take your hands out of the pockets. And I had to make him put his hands in his pockets and give me some money for some more leaflets. So I suppose the lesson there is to, you know, proof what you do. And a real thing that I love to do is A/B test it and get other people's opinions. And that's paramount. You were talking about people, you know, we are in a people-driven world, and what we do is for the consumer. So that's two small examples of the very start of my career, I suppose.
But you're right though, because a lot of us marketeers in Northern Ireland work alone.
Yeah.
So it is really important to have somebody to just sense check things off, because you might think it's the best idea in the world,
Yeah.
and then somebody will question it, and rightly so.
Yeah.
And you just need that. It's really, really important. Right, guys, we're nearly there. What was the shift in your mindset or behaviour that helped you move from being a doer to being a strategic thinker? You go next.
For me, I definitely think coming into marketing from a sales background was very helpful for me. That commercial bit is something I'm really passionate about and really worked with the team a lot on. And I think for me it was about changing the conversation when we were talking about what we were going to do from what to why. Because I think everyone will have experience where someone comes and they're like, I need an ad, I need an event, I need a whatever. And it's like, back up. What is it that you're trying to do? What is it that you're trying to achieve? Where are you trying to move the dial? And I think much more for me, it was actually learning not to talk about marketing, but to talk about the business. Understanding what the business did, what they were trying to drive, and then helping them to get to the right answer. And sometimes marketing was not the right answer. I was like, marketing is not going to solve the thing that you're trying to do here. And certainly in Deloitte, like the events was just the thing. Everybody wanted to do an event for everything. And I somehow, it just never could remember the amount of capacity that events would just suck up. The cost, the capacity, the thought, everything. And we had one example where someone came, they're like, we need a 200-person event in 2 months, and I could see my team kind of gearing themselves up looking at it. And when we looked at it, there was a piece of legislation coming in. It was going to affect 1,000 businesses in the company, in the country. And I said to them, okay, well, how many of them this is a big enough issue that they will pay us to do it? And I was like, it's 100. And how many do you think are actually then going to outsource it, to us? And the answer was about 20. I was like, why are we bringing 200 people in and actually go meet with 20 people? You literally pick up the phone. I spent a lot of my marketing time going, just call them. Just call them. You don't need an ad. I don't need to put you on a podcast. I don't need to put you on the Lewis. Just go on your mind. So that is, I think, really focusing on like the why. And listen, the data conversation is a big one. And I was often like, why? But also it's very hard for me to measure whether I've actually achieved this for you. Other than on digital, because B2B is really hard. But even if you can't really measure it, direct sales, asking the why is really, that's what got it there.
Brilliant. Jen?
I'm gonna echo what you've said 100%. So I found this difficult when I was promoted. Genuinely, this is what happened to me. I came in to Camlin one morning, just a normal day, and my CEO phoned me up and said, congratulations, you're marketing director, and this team of 8 people are now reporting to you. And the CMO's gone, and well done. I went, happy days. Oh, well, I mean, I'm the greatest marketer in the world, so why not? Why? But that's not what happened. I went home and I drank a lot of wine, and I asked the team not to look at me for a day. And Tim and Jack are here who don't remember that they work in the marketing team at Canon. They weren't here when this happened, but they hear the stories. But that's a really difficult transition when you're not prepared for it, because to go from manager to director in the space of 24 hours, and I just come back from maternity leave. They really missed me. 24 hours is a big thing, and I thought initially that actually being the greatest marketer in the whole world was what was going to make me successful. You must do everything you task forward because you're better than everybody, and you don't delegate properly because you want to show. And I quickly realised that wasn't impressing anybody, and that's when I developed the skill of managing up. I was really, really good at managing down, but I wasn't good at managing up, and I had to really look at myself and learn that art. So I did exactly what you've spoken about. I learned what was very important to the CEO, Peter. It wasn't marketing, doesn't give a shit about, what you're doing. What brochures you're putting out or advertising, he never sees it. He wants to know what your 2030 vision is, how you're going to get him to 800 million in 2030. He wants to know EBITDA, he wants to know how you're going to make them profitable, and he wants the marketing all tied to that. So I put a head of regional marketing in, and I started to delegate. I give more responsibility to the team. That was the first step. And then I aligned myself with the CEO. And then I went and rapped on the CFO's door because he didn't get us. He thought, these guys, Jesus, will they stop spending money? What do you want that for? And you want a rebrand? So I rapped on his door. Mrs. Lee, come on, I'll tell you about marketing and why we're awesome. And I explained to him the power of a brand. And actually, brand, Camlin is a premium product. It's more expensive than its competitors. and actually you can use the brand to take price out of the equation. That's how powerful a brand is, and I showed him very, very quickly with data that you're not investing in your brand, and this is how your audience, this is your audience here. They are confused, they don't understand what you do, they don't know what you're selling. And then I did the monthly catch up with him, and then we did the quarterly report outs, and we tied everything to value, revenue, profitability. And now, when I first took over, it was they cut our budget, and I had a lovely conversation with me after an SLT meeting, and he stood up and said, the budget we're not cutting is marketing, we're going to give them more, because these guys are at the front end of the business.
Amen to that.
Amen to that. And I was like, can I have 2 more heads then, please? So that it's the ability to manage up and not down.
Brilliant.
You're so right. Doer to strategic is such a jump, and they don't teach you that at uni. They don't teach you that anywhere. I think you have to learn the hard way with that one. So we were talking about general marketing. You know, you're used to getting stuck into everything. That's the first thing you need to step away from. And first time I experienced it was actually in one of my review meetings years ago, and my manager at the time was like, we can't promote you until you have someone to backfill you. So you need to step away from what you're doing, have your replacement ready to go before you can move up. And that was the first time I was like, this makes so much sense. No one actually really made that clear before. And the minute you start, I felt the minute I started investing in my team, it gave you the springboard to move up. But that strategic element, it's winning the confidence of the boardroom or your senior body, the C-level suite. Like, they see marketing as the fluff, the overhead. You know, first thing they'll cut when budgets are tight. You know, and you have to convince them of why that is the worst thing you can do. So it's winning that respect, as you said. It's the CFO, it's the CTO, it's all of. I know all companies don't have that, but it's the people that have the influence when it comes to the money. You need to explain to them why your role is important, why that department is so important. So I think once you get that to me is the biggest jump into the strategic, and it's down to numbers, as you said. You know, unless you're hitting the numbers, they're not going to have that respect for you. So to get from that doer level to that, you have to step away, you have to delegate, and lose that wee bit of control, which is hard.
Very hard. Been there. Jonna?
So touching on all fine examples, moving from the doer, I know early in my career I was very focused on the creatives and the tactification and the tactics, but really shifting from the doer to more strategic, it was really understanding the pillars of marketing. And for me, there's 3 main pillars in marketing. At the end, everyone jumps to the shiny things, to the glossy TV ads, to the billboards, etc. But to really lead your campaigns with strategy, which we're touching on, you really need to go back to the start and do your diagnosis. So it's a bit like you're touching on branding. For example, if there's a predecessor, find out what great work they did. As marketeers, we're too quick to flip the coin and be like, right, we're coming out with a new campaign. We don't let things bake long enough and be in market long enough, and we get sick of looking at things just because we do. But the reality is our consumers haven't seen us out there enough. So it's really shifting to that first stage, the diagnosis, finding everything out. It's like, I suppose, going out, if you're leading an army camp, you just don't go out all guns blazing. That's traditionally what a lot of people do, is they just go and fire out the ads. You need to go and do the strategy then. You need to find out economically what's the environment like. Can we be bold enough to not to put the price in our campaigns? Can we lead on experience? Then we move over to the tactics and the tactification. But really moving from that doer to that more strategic element, you really need to take time to understand those pillars, and they're what support me and hold me up each day as I lead the team and as we build the campaigns. And I find, a bit like what you're saying about giving more money, the more we do this, the more finance is like to be our best friend, the more they will support us and give us the money to do the campaigns and believe in it. And it's actually looking back at the good work you've done and not being afraid to go back and put it out again. Yes, maybe put a new spin on it, but if it worked before, it can work again, and it can build that brand and build momentum, and it's like a snowball. evolving.
I love that. We don't let it bake long enough.
Yeah.
That's so, I see that so often when they just like, do this campaign, and then a week later it's like, right, we're going to do something else. It's like, but we haven't give this the time.
Yeah.
We haven't give this any time at all, you know, to prove itself. And so yeah, I love that.
I had our CEO at one stage asking why people he was talking to hadn't, everybody wasn't talking about how they heard our ad on the radio. We had run our radio ad for 6 weeks on 2 stations. I was like, well, and he was like, we need to just switch off radio. I was like, we haven't even started radio.
Yeah, it's just the shiny thing, isn't it?
No, I'm like, this is a
Shiny thing.
3-year plan. It's a 3-year plan, then. It's not a 6-week plan.
Yeah, that was a really good conversation I had once with 9 accountants when I said, let's set up a forum for family businesses in Northern Ireland. We're not going to make any money for probably 5 years and we won't even get a meeting for probably 3, but let's do it. That was an interesting conversation, but they let me do it. Right guys, one final question, and this is just deep dive into your personalities and your insight. I need to know your 3 dream guests at your dinner table, alive or dead. Nikki.
Okay, I know you gave us this question before, and this is the hardest question for me to answer because I was like, Gandhi, like George Clooney, I don't know what the right answer to this is, and I really was like, no, but really, like, who, if I could, anyone, and actually where I landed was, I think I'd forget about the celebs. I had a Granny Sadie and a Granny Dargan who both passed away, and I'd have them and I'd have my mum, and then I figure because we're having dinner, it's kids go free. So I'm gonna have my little girl Sadie because I would just love. She was named after my granny, and I'd love them to see. Like she's come from these amazing women, and I would have loved them to meet her, and I'd love her to see them. So that's who I was.
Didn't think I was going to cry
Oh,
today.
sorry.
I have a Granny Sadie too.
Oh,
So it's
do
all,
you?
yeah, it's all coming
Granny
back to me.
Sadie.
Granny Sadie's are the best. Jen.
Oh my god, now I have to follow that. Oh, I'm totally like, that was beautiful. My friend the Joe will be saying, why didn't you pick me? And I was like, sat at your bedside for 2 years. So I again struggled with this because I thought, oh, do I come across as sensible and inspiring or, really me? No, so I picked Celine Dion because I love It's All Coming Back to Me Now, which I sing in the office when I'm stressed. Of course, everybody. So Celine to
Celine,
duet with.
yeah,
So she
just
would
to
be
sing or to-
appetizers, we're going to start the meal with
Gotcha.
that. Then we're going to bring Andy Cohen, Real Housewives franchise.
Oh
because
yeah, I'm totally there. Below Jack.
Oh, I mean,
totally there. Yeah,
I
totally
just want to
there.
pick his head
Yeah.
about kind of how he turned the whole Bravo thing into what
Yeah,
it is. And
unreal.
I just want to know who his favourite housewife is. I do have a sensible answer though. I know, shocking. So there's a author. He was a lawyer. He's called Jefferson Fisher. I don't know if
Oh, I love
anybody.
Jefferson Fisher.
I'm
He sits in the
obsessed.
farm, does all those wee notes every day.
Obsessed.
Oh, he's amazing.
He's basically a communication guy,
Oh,
and he
he's
teaches
so
you.
good.
So in marketing, we like to argue. I don't know about anybody else. I mean, I'm saying don't be argumentative, but comes natural to us. But he wrote this book, How to Communicate More and Argue Less. And because I'm in my Zen Gen era, I would want him because I want to tell him about my daily scenarios, and I want him to run drills.
Such
So
a good
Celine
call.
to finish,
Oh, I
Andy
love
for the
that.
gossip, and then end with how to be a better
Oh, can I come?
person.
I'll organise it.
It's such a hard question. I
Isn't
agree
it?
with it because you can have a really smart answer, or you sound really intelligent,
Yeah.
or I kind of went celebrity them up. So
It doesn't
doesn't say a lot about me. But initially I did actually think grandparents because all my grandparents died before I was 1. So I never got to know them. So I love them all, of course, but one of my grandparents would be lovely to get to know them. Somebody ridiculous like Trump. Just look at him in the face and see if he's real. Because I don't know if it's AI anymore. It's stuff that comes out.
Poke him.
So I just love to see what comes out of his mouth in real life. Or Jeff Bezos, or just to ask them, they live in a different world.
Yeah.
Find out about their lives. And then for the week that's in it, Victoria Beckham.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
She was on my list.
Show us
You
the
know,
show.
just to get her side of the
Yeah.
story.
Good call.
That is, I go to your dinner party.
Would you
We're
want to
going to have to hire a bigger venue.
go to the locker?
Johnny.
These ladies are really driving the emotion, aren't they? The core of a good brand. So I'm a big Traders viewer, so no spoiler alerts, please. So I would definitely invite Alan Carr. I think he's hilarious.
Yeah.
And I'd bring Claudia Winkelman along with him. I think they could tell a tale or two. And you've just touched on Victoria. I was going to say Brooklyn Beckham, but we'll jump over to Prince Harry.
Oh, I'm coming to yours too. Good one. Not Megan, no. Not Megan. Guys, all that is left for me to say is thank you to these incredible people for being here, for showing up, for taking my ridiculous requests and running with them. Does anybody have any questions for them before we let them sit down?